Good morning, everyone. My name is Chantal Roy, Director of Brand Experiences at SJC Media. Thank you for joining Canadian Business for the third event of our summit this week. Today, we'll discuss the forces disrupting corporate leadership in Canada and how to build resilience in the face of it with Rejean Bourgault, AWS Canada Director and Public Sector Country Manager. With over 30 years of global technology industry expertise, Réjean is a trusted advisor to government, nonprofit, healthcare, and education institutions that are eager to achieve digital transformation with cloud, machine learning, and IoT technologies. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today, Réjean. Welcome.
Bonjour, and thank you for having me with you today. And I want also to thank all Amazon and AWS customers that are participating today with us.
Thank you. So how has 2023 been for you?
Well, 2023 has been a very exciting year. It's the first year we're back under normal circumstances. We don't have COVID. We can start traveling a little bit, having family reunion and having sports outside without being worried. So it's good for family. It was good also for Canadian too. However, when I look at what's happening lately with the global conflict and what's happening these days, especially, it's breathtaking. And I really, really feel sorry for all the civilian casualties and all the challenges. And I think if I reflect on this, is like, I feel as Canadian, it reminds us to have gratitude in the country we live in. If we look at the safety, quality of air, quality of water, quality of healthcare and food, I think we're living in a great country, and I think we just need to have a bit more gratitude there. And that was reminded to me last week. We were having an offsite with all my leaders, and someone came from India, and he was just like exploring a portion of Canada for the first time in his life, and he just felt like, wow, you have an amazing country, and I'm not sure if you guys realize this. So if we look in terms of business, it's been a very exciting year, a lot of momentum. We can see a lot of traction with startup, enterprise, and government that are moving to digital transformation. We've seen some exciting announcement. Our CEO was in Canada in June for the Collision Conference, and we announced at this conference that AWS will basically invest 21 billion, just AWS, for the next 15 years to continue to build our infrastructure in Canada for cloud. We also participated, like, as you know, remember, the wildfire was something that was unique. We have never seen something so drastic in all our history of Canada. And we support lots of organizations, including government and the army, to not only track the fire, but also combat and have coordination of responders. So that's something AWS did during the summer with the wildfire. And also on, as you know, generative AI, it's something big, and I know we're going to talk about it today, but we announced the general ability of one of our platform that's called Amazon Bedrock, that basically give ability to experiment and develop a solution with generative AI for all enterprise of all size. And so basically democratizing this technology, because we believe there's a different model that will work in the industry. So overall, like, it was an exciting year, and the year is not finished. One thing that is for me very exciting is by the end of 2023, early 2024, we're just there. We're launching a new infrastructure in Calgary. This will be our second region of large cluster of data centers. And just that investment, part of the 21 billion is 4 billion, and we will be up and running very soon. So this will offer for Canadian citizens and Canadian companies and government ability to basically store their data in Canada from east to west and have a lot of resiliency. So that was 2023, basically.
Sounds very exciting. That's such exciting times, right? Something to look forward to before the end of the year. So that's fantastic. So I'd love to hear more about your career path. What were the pivotal moments that led you to your current role at AWS?
Thanks. And typically Amazon, we don't really talk about ourselves. We talk more about the company, but I will take a few minutes. Let's just summarize quickly. I always wanted to be an engineer. When I was young, I played with Lego. I'm not shy. Up to the age of 17, my garage was the place where I play most. I was doing special bikes. I remember one of the bikes I built with 3 wheels in the front, and I was walking, riding this on the street, and everybody was puzzled. I was dismantling motors, and I remember one day we received a new turntable, brand new, and I don't know what I did, but I decided to dismantle. My brother was so unhappy. I could not rebuild it after, so it was an error, but I learned on through this process. After that, I graduated from Sherbrooke University in engineering, and while I was at the university, I built my own satellite dish, 6-foot satellite dish, totally in wood with metals on it. Like I study a lot about that. And that gave me a co-op student opportunity for 4 months with the Ministry of Communication in Ottawa. So I moved there for 4 months, and I basically worked for the MSAT project. So you never know what happens in your life. I built a satellite dish. It was in my resume. I ended up helping Telesat Mobile Incorporated at that time with Ministry of Communication building the MSAT program. Fast forward, I graduate. I did 21 years at Nortel, and within Nortel there was 4 big division. And between each of these divisions, you can literally start over again, like all different contacts internally with customer. So I was part at the beginning of the digital transformation of Canada, which led the foundation really for digital and internet, and then moved to wireless in the 2G and 3G, which led me to opportunity to do short-term expat for almost a year in France, Paris, and then I did another year in Hong Kong. This was a bit special because I had put a lot of sacrifice. I signed a very bizarre contract at that time, which was a 3-2 contract, 3 weeks in Hong Kong, 2 weeks in Montreal. My wife and 3 kids were 1, 3, and 5. We're still together, happy, married. But I basically worked in Hong Kong for a year, helping build the future of 3G network. And after that, so basically, I joined AWS in summer 2017. I knew AWS was a bit more geek, was an organization that really loved builders, like love entrepreneur, and that's part of the DNA of AWS and Amazon. So I was excited about Amazon. I was excited about what Amazon was doing and what AWS was doing to help customers. So I joined them. Started very small team, and now we built a very large team based on the growth that we've seen in Canada. And I mentioned to you when I arrived in summer 17, we just launched Montreal region. And since 2016 to 2021, we invest already 1.4 billion just in the Montreal cluster of data center, which helped many customers that you work with. And one thing I'd like to do at parenthesis is a lot of people know Amazon. So when I do keynote, I will ask how many people I've done work or I've basically purchased something on Amazon the last month, either family, and I would basically have almost the entire room up. But what the people don't realize is they are using Amazon Web Services, AWS, almost on a daily basis. So whoever watch at night Netflix, Disney Channel, or Prime Video, that is Jack Ryan, whatever series, this is all the foundation is really on AWS. So these company on entertainment, they rely on AWS for the infrastructure, the foundation of technology, while they focus on their marketing. And it's the same for Lululemon, the Bank of Montreal, Sun Life, or if you know in the sport like the MLSC, the F1, NHL, and AFL, all these organizations rely on AWS, and that's something that people don't even realize. And sometimes when I have younger people, I say, hey, by the way, if you go to McDonald's, every time you go in these McDonald's, you have these kiosks where you put your order, and you don't necessarily talk to a human just for that portion. This all goes on AWS. So basically, AWS touch a lot of people, and we're helping a lot of governments. We can talk later about it, but that's basically my profile and what I've done so far.
That's such a great journey, and just to see where you've gotten to in the last few years with AWS, it's fantastic to hear. So let's get into innovation in Canada. From your vantage point, what unique factors or strengths in the Canadian business landscape contribute to fostering innovation?
So I'll focus a lot on Amazon here to basically help a little bit understanding this. So if you look at innovation at company, you you have to foster an environment of innovation. That's very important. So we talk about fail fast. We have to accept failure if we want to create innovation. And we have a very distinct culture at Amazon that we call the culture of innovation. And in fact, this is a whole topic on its own that could take much more than just this interview today. Just to give you a perspective, when we have customer around the world that comes either to Seattle, to our head office, or come to Washington, D.C., they will come to our office for executive briefing center. So they will come either 1 day or 2 days. And they have a list of about 100 topics, plus we can customize topic. And the number one topic taken by any customer is culture of innovation. And typically this will last for an hour and a half, and we will share how we innovate inside of Amazon. And this is all based on the 16 leadership principles. So one of the things that is part of the DNA of Amazon is really our 16 leadership principles. The first one is customer obsession, and then we have think big, bias for action, and so on, insist on higher standard and deliver results. So one of the way we look at it is the way we innovate at Amazon is 90%, and this is truly the way it works. 90% of our solution, new feature or benefit or functionality are created based on customer feedback. So either you think about Amazon and general public that are purchasing on Amazon or customer of AWS, the feedback they are giving us, this is what really trigger the chain of innovation. And it's very unique the way we do it. We have mechanism that is very peculiar. And if you come from outside and you work at Amazon, this is something that people like, they are not used to. It takes an adaptation. But I'll give you a good way, one of the things we do. So we use a lot what we call PR FAQ, press release and frequently asked questions. Before we build any services, any functionality, and we introduced more than 3,000 functionality just 1 year in 2022 on AWS. But before we write really a press release, it's a fake press release, but it looks like a real one. If I was to show it to you, you'd think it's a real one. So we have the quote, we have where it is, we have quote of customer, quote of internal people, we have the benefit of what the customer will get out of these services, and we circulate the press release internally, and that could be 2 years, 3 years before the service is even introduced. In other market, in other company, they will build technology, and at the end, they will give it to marketing and say, please do a press release. We do the other way around. We have not write one single line of code at that point. After that, we do a 6-pager. Sometimes it's a bit less than 6-pager, but that's typically 6-pager, where we describe the service in more detail and so on. And we read these docs in silence. So this is a very peculiar. You will walk in Amazon, you will have your first meeting, it will be an hour, and if you arrive 1 minute late, you're wondering what's happening, but everybody's reading. So we will be reading for 25 minutes, silence. It looks like a library. And basically, this is where we read the doc. It's very good for diversity inclusion because everybody's on the same place. You don't have someone who's just presenting PowerPoint who's better at presenting. Now it's facts. It's on paper, we read, and after that, it's a feedback period. So this is one of the mechanisms. The other mechanism we have is what we call the 2 pizza team. So at AWS and Amazon, we start to create these very small team that we can feed with 2 pizza. And it's what we call the microservices if we go in very technical. But if, for example, when you go on Amazon.com or Amazon.ca, there's many small services team behind it. One will look for payment, one will look for your experience of clicking the button and so on. So these services team are very small and they can be fed with 2 pizzas. So we call it the 2 pizza team. So basically that's the way we innovate. And one of the things too, we really encourage is learn and be curious. So that's one of our leadership principles that I believe a lot. In fact, when we do interviews with candidates, typically it's 5 interviews with 5 different people, and every people will test 2 leadership principles. My favorite one is learn and be curious, because If you want to join Amazon, or you want to join AWS, or you want to be a builder, you should know these leadership principles, and we should test these examples. We basically want example for each of those leadership principles. So on the learning, because what I'm doing personally, and because I know, Chantal, this is one of the things that people wanted to hear, is on Wednesday morning between 9 a.m. and 1 o'clock time zone. So if you're East, basically on your time zone, I give 4 hours of what we call T3, time to think. And this is a period of time where we should not get interview requests, debrief. We should not get internal meeting. We will prioritize customer meeting, of course. But this is a time where really we are thinking, we're writing docs, we're learning, and so on. So I hope I answered the question, but that's basically a way we're doing it. And one last one I want to give you as a mechanism that is, people are saying like, wow, yeah, Amazon, like you have, as you know, in Canada, we have more than 40,000 employees, and in the world, we're about 1.45 million employees. When I started, we were below 500,000. And how do you scale? Well, we scale based on these leadership principles that I just described, but also on the way we take decision. We have what we call a mechanism called one-way door and two-way door. And that's very profound. So what we're trying to do as a one-way door decision will be, for example, when we decided to put a new region in the West in Calgary, a 4 billion investment, that's a one-way door decision. You understand, by the time you start to put the concrete and you start buying all the equipment, it's very difficult to come back. Now, it's the same when we built our large fulfillment center of 1 million square feet. But a two-way door decision is what we're pushing to decentralize to small teams, saying, you can take those decisions, and if it's okay to come back. So you take the decision, move on, and we expect our leaders to move on decision with 70% of the facts. We don't want them to wait until they have 100% of the data, because they will never move. So if this concept of two-way door, if you have 70%, there's not too much risk, you should move on and come back.
Sounds like such forward thinking, for such a growing company. So it's great to see that, you're really thinking of the team as well, and how you can let them grow and give them the time to think, like you said, and be creative. So that's great to hear. So in your experience, what would you believe are the primary drivers of innovation in business today, particularly in the Canadian context?
So I'd like to give a stats later on this topic, but since we put our region in Canada, we see an acceleration and an innovation. And one of the stats that we have is in 2021, we know that 84% of AWS business, or basic company using AWS, they said that 84% of them, that they have innovated faster. They were able to make it easy for them to introduce new solution and new product. And as a result, we created an 8.5 billion value in economic value for Canada. And this touched direct and indirect about 380,000 businesses in Canada. So I think that's definitely, cloud is an enabler. It's part of the driver for innovation. And we see a lot of innovation in Canada. We should be very proud of it. And some of them are known, some of them are not well known. One that I'd like to describe, and I'll give a few examples, is in UBC in 2020, in January, just before COVID, we launched the Cloud Innovation Center. So the UBC KIC, Cloud Innovation Center. And I want to give a background on this and to show you how it works as being a builder inside of the organization. One of my best account manager, very senior account manager, one day we were walking in Ottawa, and she said to me, Réjean, I'm writing a thing big paper, and I don't want you to be surprised, but at the end of this thing big, if you agree to move forward, that means I would like to take the leadership of this role, and therefore I will no longer work for you. And I said, great, let's read this doc. And we literally read the doc. We had a few iterations. That was a real 6-pager. We got approval for launching the UBC KIC, which is basically a partnership, a strategic partnership with UBC, where they have teachers, they have co-op students. Sometimes we have 20 co-op students at a time on a given semester. And they are attacking well-being challenges around the world. And basically BC, Canada, and sometimes around the world. And indeed, she took the role, she created a team, we give her a staff, and basically we have done many, multiple tens of challenges, and some of them are breathtaking. They are basically AI driven. So one of them was, so by the way, there's 17 kick around the world. When she came to me with this idea, we had only 8. So we became the 8th one in the world. But we've created an open source AI model that basically look at the CT scans and X-rays to detect COVID-19. So that's one thing that the kick is working. So we have AWS engineer, we have co-op students, teacher, physics doctor. One of the very amazing study end up in Nature magazine. And we use high performance computing of the kick. So basically leveraging lots of 23,000 servers, just to give you an idea on this one, just to do research. And we identified, not when I say we, this doctor identified 9 new coronavirus. We're also using the kick to basically prioritize MRI. So when you have an MRI, and if you have many MRI, it's very long for doctor to start analyzing each of them, and maybe in the pack or in the stack of MRI, there's a big one, something that's very critical for a patient that needs to be treated faster. So we use AI and machine learning to basically first do a first triage on MRI. If you look at generative AI, we're starting to see customer like Alaya Care, which look after healthcare for citizen at home and in some centers. And basically, they're using generative AI to process and accelerate decision. There's another company called in Montreal called BrainBox AI. This is innovating what they're doing. Imagine they're putting AI on HVAC system. So those big metal box on top of roof of all the buildings around the world and in Canada and Australia and so on, they find a way to use AI machine learning and reduce energy. And then sometimes up to 13–15% reduction of energy based on AI. And they've done it in one of the airports in Australia. So this is a company based in Montreal, based in Canada, that is using AI and in a very innovative way.
Yeah, it sounds like there's just so much opportunity to look at AI in a positive way. But we also look at innovation, and it can sometimes face challenges in sustainability. So, what strategies or practices have you observed that make innovation sticky in organizations, also ensuring it becomes a lasting part of the company culture?
Well, on this, what I'd love to say is like our culture of innovation makes it sticky for AWS and for Amazon. So that's pretty clear based on what I described. I explained the Canada T3 time to think on Wednesday. That's really creating a DNA for our employee or a mindset of innovation. I'd like to give a good example of one of those leadership principles. I said there's 16. One is customer obsession. The other one is bias for action. And I had to live through those two during COVID. When COVID arrived in March 13, if you recall, the surge of requests on AWS was insane. We had to prioritize. We moved from monthly meeting to weekly meetings. Sometimes we had daily calls with our top engineer because the demand from customer coming left and right. And one of the big demand was the CERB. If you remember, the CERB, the famous $2,000 to all the citizens, they needed to set up a contact center. And this was announced on April 6th by Prime Minister Trudeau. I'm just giving you the exact countdown. On Thursday, before the Monday, April 6th, on Thursday at noon, we got the go to set up the contact center. We did it with Accenture in only 4 days. We were up and running, 1,500 agents. We were having 40,000 calls a day with this. And this was done with ESDC employment. We did something similar with Canada Revenue Agency for up to 4,000 agents. Well, this came from innovation. This came from another 6-pager. So I'll give you a perspective on this. And this is where you see that the innovation mindset of the flywheel. We were using a technology for our own contact center for Amazon Prime Day. So in Prime Day, we receive a surge of requests. So in a normal day, a normal year, you will have normal requests on a daily basis. But during Prime Day, it's peak and will go down. So this is perfect utilization of cloud. So we have built our own technology for contact center. And someone say, hey, if we can do that, why don't we offer that to our customer? So he wrote a 6-pager and we launched a technology called Amazon Connect. So when COVID happened, this was the perfect solution really to help our citizen, and it ran flawlessly. So I think this is a very, very good example of how it's sticky within the organization. And I think it's very important that leaders on this call, when you want to do innovation, you have to understand that failure is part of the equation. You have to let people fail. And it's funny, I had someone in the government one day tell me, this is so difficult. In our organization, if you fail, you get on the blacklist. You're not on the right spot on the organization. I said, no, at AWS, we fail. At Amazon, we fail. I can give you an example. When we launched the famous Fire phone, it never worked. At the end, when we decided to shut down the production, we lost 170 million US of hardware in inventory. Imagine these phones, they were in inventory and we had to scrap it. But what happened, we learned a lot from this and we launched Alexa. So that team that built all the intelligence on the Fire phone, basically were able to build Alexa. And today we have over 500 million powered Alexa devices.
Sounds like when you have a great idea, or your team has a great idea, things happen really quickly, right? So how important is innovation in the brand DNA at AWS?
Well, I think it's really like the way I just described it. It's part of our DNA. It's part from day one. So we have a say at Amazon say it's always day one, and we will repeat that, by the way, very, very often. And part of the DNA is the 16 leadership principle, and I'll give you an example of this. So one of them is think big, and we will do doc read. We will be, let's say, 20 people around the table, and we will be looking at a new idea or a new plan for 2024. Anyone in the room understand these 16 leadership principles. So we don't need lots of language to describe something we observe. I can be the one presenting the paper with my own leaders, some of employees, stakeholders, and someone raise a hand, either virtually or physically, and we say, Réjean, I'm sorry, you're not thinking big enough. I will not be offended. Everybody's equal at that point, and we all understand what he means. Like, you just say you don't think big enough, and then we will have this conversation. Or someone will say, you know what you just said? It's great, but this is not customer obsessed. And you will have the instant reaction. And when I was doing my interview in 17, I had difficulty to believe this because you have all these leadership principles on the walls in some companies, but I live it. Like, we live it through when we start, so on the iron, we live it in meetings and so on, but all the evaluation on a yearly basis, we are evaluated on our leadership principle by our peer, by our leaders, and by our employees. So basically, at the end of the year, around January, end of January, beginning of February, I will receive a report that will show for Rejean Bourgault what are my top 3 leadership principles, which one are the top bottom 3 that I should work on. So that's definitely part of the DNA.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's so great. So we're always thinking, what's next? What's the next big trend out there? There's just so many things kind of coming up, and especially with, you and your team and what you're working on, you must be thinking of the biggest trends that are coming up so you could be the first to come out with something new, something exciting. So with the rise of AI and ML, how do you see these technologies driving innovation, particularly in Canada?
Well, if we look at it, like, I really believe that artificial intelligence will be the next big thing. It's already existing since many decades, by the way. This is not new AI. And I just want to set the record straight. We've been doing AI at Amazon since 20 years. So 20 plus years, in fact. So when you go on Amazon.com or Amazon.ca, all the interaction, the forecast, and the proposal of different solutions, so on, there's AI behind it. When you watch Prime Video, there's a lot of AI behind it. If you go in our fulfillment center and we bring some customer when it's outside of the Christmas period, we bring customer and executive to visit our fulfillment center. We have lots of robots there, and all these robots are driven by AI and machine learning. But really, I believe that the next big thing is generative AI. Generative AI, let's face it, this is absolutely game changer. This will be similar to what internet was in 1995. And I told all my employees, it's a shock wave. It's a wake-up call. You need to learn level 100, 200 and above, because this is absolutely something our customers are demanding right now. They are experimenting. We're just at the beginning of generative AI, and we're just at the beginning of the art of the possible of it. So that will be for sure something big. When you look in past summer, I'll give you a good example. In the wildfire that we experienced, people might not know, but there was a lot of cloud technology and AI technology that was behind it, helping. So Natural Resource Canada, for example, they have satellite imaging that they're getting from European satellite over Canada, and all this data is stored in the cloud on AWS on what we call open data registry. We don't even charge for it. They upload the data, and this data is now available for all different provinces, and BC was using this. There's a company in Australia that they use AI machine learning called XC, and basically they can detect a bushfire in minutes. So this fast forward, basically they're using different techniques of imagery and camera and satellite, but basically they could trigger fast responder. So, and you have a company in Canada called BlackBerry, they use a technology called ADOC. And this is used to basically coordinate a respondent, and you can see visually where are the firefighter in the different area, which is very risky, by the way. When you are in the front line in a fire, you need to be able to communicate with these first responders. So definitely the technology is there. When I look at Gen AI, for me, what's fascinating is what's happening with healthcare. And I can go on and on. I want to respect the time, but Philips is using generative AI right now to accelerate some decision-making, clinical decision. But there's an institute in the US, for me, this is something that is exciting me. It's called Allen Institute. They are currently mapping the human brain for the first time ever. This will not be possible without AI, without cloud. And basically the anticipation is this: why Alzheimer, why Parkinson? And you need massive capacity of artificial intelligence and cloud in order to do basically tackle these big challenges of healthcare. You're going to see AI in manufacturing with IoT device and Internet of Things, basically doing preventive maintenance. In the financial sector, what we see the demand right now is with pension funds and big banks. They want to use generative AI to accelerate the review of documents. So imagine you're a pension fund and you have a VC section. So basically you're giving money on startup. Like, you have a lot of documents to read, and how are you going to collapse all these documents, and how can you fast forward the decision? Because sometimes you're competing against other pension funds or the banks around the world. So generative AI basically will facilitate the read and summarize content of thousands of pages of documents from different organizations. And we can use private section of generative AI, not only with public content, but you can basically take private documentation and use generative AI for different needs. And the retail in Toronto, you have the fitting room. I don't know if you heard about this company. They're using 3D and AI. Basically, you upload yourself, very simple. You use your mobile phone at house. You turn 360. They take all your measurement, they modelize, and then online shopping can be done. And basically, when you pick an article, let's say a sweatshirt or a shirt, whatever, it will go on your model, which is your avatar, and you can see the fit, where you can change the size of the shirt from whatever size you have. So, and the other thing too that for us it's exciting is, because of this demand of AI, we need to develop our own chips, so our own silicon. So we have training chips, and we have inference chip, what we call for running workloads. So this is another area we believe will be very important. So basically, Gen AI building a new application for all type of organizations, from startup, public sector, and government.
That's such exciting stuff, Réjean. So you really talked about, you touched on forest fires and new technologies around, testing it out and really understanding how they get started. And in Canada, we're pushing to be at the forefront of technology innovation. It really sounds like it is, after speaking with you today. And what steps do you believe the country needs to take to catch up, maybe in the AI ML domain?
Um, by the way, I want to give a quote that I love by one of our top executive on AI and about Gen AI. And it's a very simple quote, and he will use it often. He will say, just to give you the speed of Gen AI, and even today you'll see some news like we just announced we're using more robots in some of our facility, but he will say it was a busy year today in Gen AI. And it just on that, I want to do a small parenthesis on this is it's important we all learn. And I ask all my employees, and I give them budget, buy any book on AI, whatever. If you're an expert in healthcare, maybe you would prefer to buy a book on AI, but I think it's important to learn and be curious. And so the three key area, I think, to answer your question very directly, I think we have to understand it's impossible to do AI, real Gen AI without cloud. So it's really, as our organization embrace cloud, and we're really at the tip of the iceberg, and we see it. Organizations that adapt cloud, they're moving very, very fast. So like once you have the data on the cloud, it's very easy because you need data to do AI. Without data, there's absolutely zero AI. So you need to first modernize, use the cloud, put your data in the cloud, and basically use AI, machine learning on it in Gen AI. The other thing too is there's a misconception in Canada what cloud is. And I just want to make it very clear. Some players, some organizations are trying to put fear on cloud and fear and security, while the cloud is more secure than any enterprise data center on site. Because if you have a data center in a physical building, I know where it is. If you go in an AWS cloud, basically an AWS region, you have no idea where the data is. And it's highly secure. We have over 140 security control on it. But it's very important to understand that compute and storage are only two services out of 240 services we have. So there's a very small player that will talk, about cloud. They were just talking about storage and compute, but that's only two services that we introduced in 2006. The beauty of cloud is the rest is all the database, the Internet of Things, the application, the mobile apps, all the different services for AI, ML that are built in for software designer instead of just for data scientists, because we're really democratizing inside of Amazon and AWS how we use AI. So just don't fear the cloud. And the third one is really step up the knowledge of the organization. There's 5 million unfulfilled cloud position in the world today. And more than about the real stats on this is 64% of the decision makers say cloud skills is a gap that exists within the organization. So we really encourage people. And one thing we're doing at AWS is we have a goal to train 29 million people for free by 2025. We're more than halfway there. And in Canada, we already trained 200,000 participants or clients and users. Sometimes it's university students. And one of the tools we have, it's open online. We have 600 training for free. So those are different tools. So back to your question is like understanding that cloud is required to do AI. Don't be fear cloud and step up the knowledge of your organization.
Well, with your experience and ongoing experience, we're curious to know what your advice is for today's leaders. Culture, hybrid work, DEI, it's also interesting out there right now. So, as a leader yourself, what advice would you give to aspiring leaders in navigating the landscape of today's business world?
So I will go in two different segments. One is I'm gonna keep at the end, which is something I give a keynote at a university last year, and I'll close with this. But I really believe in diversity and inclusion. I think it's very important. It has to be part of our daily routine. Today, my direct leadership team, if you were to look at it, is 50-50 diversity for gender. But I really believe in diversity in general, not just on gender only. It's very important we invest on people, and we let them experiment with technology. Cloud is a good way to do it because it's low cost. You set up a server, you test it. If it doesn't work, you shut it down. But basically encourage the fail fast that I talk about. Like, it's okay to fail. I gave you a good example with the Fire Phone. Also, I would say that the Canada is trailing behind the US counterpart right now in terms of AI adoption and even cloud. So I would say, like, we need to step up as a country, as leaders, to really encourage innovation on our daily basis. When I look at the closing on this, like, I like to keep 5 things. Learn and be curious, yourself too. Like, it's important you act as a role model for your employees. So basically learning yourself, and give them time, give your employee time to learn. I give the example of all the books that employees, I give them $35 US each. I said, whatever books you buy, I don't care. And it's fun. What we did after is my assistant collapsed every single picture of all the books. We did a mosaic, and we just show it. After 2 months, we say, here's all the books you buy. And not when people were starting to talk about, hey, I love this book, I love this book, I learned so much. And it's just spur the innovation inside. I would say, as leader, always stay authentic and humble, regardless of the level you are. And that's super important. I've seen in my career people moving up in organization, and they're not the same. They just change. Their environment changed, like, in a way they interact with people. Like, stay authentic. This is how you earn trust. The third one is keep giving praise to your employee that are doing innovation. Like, it's important, the constant praise. That's a way to do it, is in leadership. I would say stay passionate in all you do. That's important. Like, your employees see your passion. And I just wrote to one of my leader that was, we had an offsite last week, and one of the leader, the behavior was so passionate. It was contagious. And you could see the rest of the leaders were just looking and just basically finding, oh, wow, this person is so passionate. I will follow the guidance, the role model. This person was the behavior I can see there. And I would just close on one thing is, we say that at Amazon is very important, even for promotion. Always have a broader impact from day one. So what I mean is, like, we're hiring a lot of talented people, but it's okay, you do your job, but what do you do to help others, even help community? Like, if you only do a great job, there's so much talent around you at Amazon and AWS. What are you differentiated by others? It's like the way you help others. Are you helping France? Are you helping Singapore? Are you helping your community? So I will just close on this, is always have a broader impact from day one. And we say at Amazon, it's always day one.
I love that. I love your positive outlook on everything, Réjean. It's just so nice to see. It's so refreshing to see, from a leader like yourself. So this already takes us to the end of our chat. I could chat with you all day. I love to hear so much about what you do. It's so also exciting. But thank you so much again, Réjean, for joining us today. And thank you, everyone, for joining us virtually. We hope to see you at our last event next week of the summit with Amex at Luma. So hope to see you all in person. And thank you again for joining us today. And thank you, Réjean, for your time. Bye.
Thank you, Chantal. Much appreciated.
Bonne journée.
Bonjour à tout le monde. Au revoir.
Au revoir.